Imagine you are looking at an old photograph album of yourself. As you flick through it, you see pictures of yourself at different stages of your childhood. You see your first birthday, your primary school graduation, and photos from your last school camp. You have changed vastly, both physically and psychologically, and yet you still conclude that all those people in the photos are you. What we are trying to establish in this video is how you can be so sure that the person in those photos is in fact yourself. A possible answer to this question is that you are seeing the same living organism at different stages of its development. Yes, you have changed immensely since you were a 1-year-old to now roughly 16 or 17. You may have new cells, and only a small fraction of the atoms that were present in your 2-year-old body are still present, but it is still your body. We know that you are essentially the same living organism, the same animal, and have the same basic body, physical continuity. We call this the animal theory. Some believe it is this that causes personal identity.
But Professor, what if, let's say, one warm summer's night, two brothers, Lawrence and Larry, are sleeping in their suburban 1970s Australian home. Suddenly, an extraterrestrial UFO abducts both Lawrence and Larry, and with their advanced technology, open up the skull caps, carefully remove both their living brains, and then reinstall each brain into the other brother's body. Lawrence wakes up the next morning and sees that he has Larry's body. Larry wakes up and in turn sees he has Lawrence's body. Logically, the person with Lawrence's brain, although having the body of Larry, is still Lawrence. This contradicts the animal theory, as according to it, the animal with Lawrence's brain and Larry's body is in fact Larry. Doesn't that disprove the theory?
Well, a solution to this is what is known as the brain theory. The brain theory states that it is not the whole body, but the brain that makes the animal. This does in fact solve the brain transplant case, as each person ends up where the brain goes.
But Professor, say there is a machine called a brain recorder. Place it on someone's head, and it scans exactly how the brain is put together. Place it on another person's head, and flipping the appropriate switch causes the person's brain to change to exactly what the recorded one's was. Now, instead of aliens swapping Lawrence and Larry's brains, imagine that these brain recorders are used instead. We move Lawrence's psychological properties to Larry, and Larry's psychological properties to Lawrence. Wouldn't this immediately bring about many problems with the brain theory? As despite the fact that both Lawrence and Larry have essentially switched bodies, their brains have not been removed.
Well, yes, it would. However, to fight this problem, the stream theory was made. The stream theory suggests that instead of a person being bound to their animal body or their brain, they are bound to their psychological continuity. Naturally, a person's psychological properties can change. Their memory, for instance. It is very unlikely for you to remember your experiences when you were 2. However, you may have memory of yourself being 7, which may have a memory of you when you were 5, etc. Psychological continuity. As long as you have a connection to a previous memory or psychological aspect of yourself, you are you, despite perhaps changing bodies.
But Professor, imagine there is a machine that can duplicate physical objects with 2 ends. One where the object is duplicated, and one where the object is placed to duplicate. However, it must be noted that once an object is duplicated, the original one is destroyed. Now, imagine that you are placed inside the duplicator. What happens? The animal theory suggests that you are killed, as the original animal has been destroyed. The stream theory, however, suggests that you have in fact been teleported. It is not a copy of you that has been created, it is you. Now, Imagine that another line is added to the duplicator, so that it creates two duplicates when copying. Now again, you are duplicated and destroyed. But instead of just one of you being created, there are two. According to the stream theory, these two individuals are both you, as they are psychologically continuous. And yet, this doesn't make any sense. The duplicates being identical to you should naturally be identical to each other. But they clearly aren't, as they are not numerically identical, one and the same. Wouldn't this mean that the stream theory doesn't work?
Well, yes. However, to attempt to counteract this, many stream theory enthusiasts have proposed an additional condition to the stream theory. This condition is that if two later individuals who exist at the same time are both psychologically continuous with an earlier individual, then neither of those later individuals is numerically identical with the earlier. This is called the modified stream theory. Now, this does in fact fix the problem with the stream theory, as it means that two duplicated people are no longer identical.
But Professor, wouldn't this bring about another problem with duplication? Imagine that you are walking down the street and unbeknownst to you, you are shot by a duplicator gun that copies you instantly. According to the modified stream theory, you no longer exist, as there are two of you existing at the same time. Intuitively, this doesn't make sense. Now, imagine that at the same moment you are copied, a piano falls from atop a building and kills you. According to the modified stream theory, you are teleported to wherever the duplicate of you is. Again, this intuitively doesn't make much sense. You are dead, killed by a piano. Someone copying you doesn't change that.
These problems make a sort of philosophical scissors-paper-rock, where with the brain theory beating the animal theory theory beating the stream theory, and the stream theory beating the brain theory. The brain transplant case causes us to believe the body is irrelevant in terms of identity. The brain recorder case causes us to believe the brain is irrelevant in terms of identity. And the duplication problems cause us to believe that psychological continuity is irrelevant. In the distant future, imagine you are an ore miner from Earth who farms ore on a faraway planet. The only way to reach this planet is via a transport device that flings you at incredible speeds from one planet to the other. After working for many years, the company reveals that their transport device does not in fact fling you at ludicrous speeds, but incinerates you and creates an exact replica of you at the other end. This causes a great dilemma. It brings into question your identity, who you really are. Are you just a clone of another person? You very could possibly be a clone of a clone of a clone, etc. In reality, it could mean that all your memories have been merely created. At present, you are on the faraway planet, and have a choice of either using the teleporter or taking a spaceship which would take up to 300 years to reach Earth, meaning you would never see your family again. The big question is, do you take the teleporter? Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not you want to risk seeing your loved ones again, or not wanting to possibly die. Due to the scissors-paper-rock between the three main theories, it can be quite difficult to ascertain which one would be the correct one to use in this situation. So, as a question, what would you choose?